Hello, everyone. It's Whitney Wiley, and thank you for joining me here for the Love Your Work series. And today I have the honor and the privilege of talking with the founder of Goal Friends, my girlfriend and friend, Darlene Whitehurst. Darlene, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Whitney. Thanks for having me. You're
Thank
one of my
you.
favorites.
Oh, stop. Thanks for joining me. It is truly an honor and a privilege. When I met you back in November last year at the retreat, I thought you were awesome, and we had that little conversation after you got me. Let's just leave that alone.
I
And
did.
I was sitting in my shades, and you're like, "Why are you in your shades?" I was like, "I love this girl." So,
Whitney, it's 9:30 in the morning in the house. That
hey,
was wonderful. What an adventure.
what you gonna do, right? And it's like it was either that or still be back at the hotel sleeping.
That's what happens when you put girls together.
That's true. It was an awesome time, and it has been great in the months since then, getting to know you a little bit better, becoming a part of your organization, Goal Friends. And so I wanted to have you on. I know you are someone who is very passionate about what you're doing, and you've got a love for women and your mission. So I wanted to have you on and have you talk about what it is you're doing. What is Goal Friends, first of all? And then what is it that you're doing with this organization?
Well, thank you. And I'm so honored that you've embraced it. So, Goal Friends is a women's empowerment initiative. And it started when I attended a meeting many years ago, about 10 years ago, and watched women support each other. And then I had this light bulb moment. I said, what if I could bring women together to really concentrate and focus and support each other in their dreams and goals and kind of their life, somebody that poured into them, and that's how it was born. So it's a platform for women to come together and just have purposeful conversation, make powerful connections. I.e., if I hadn't been at a women's retreat with you, I wouldn't have met you. I've met so many amazing people, and was just running through the list here in Raleigh, how many people that I know and love and cherish that I would not have known, humbly, hadn't I started Goal Friends. We just have
Right.
this huge, we just have this huge community here. So it's just a great place to get clear on what you want. And I personally believe that clarity equals confidence. The more clear you are on what you want, the more confident you are in what you're doing, even running a business. And then being confident is empowering.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah,
So so you started Goal Friends. You've got this dream of helping other women reach their dreams, understand their goals and their dreams. What what was it that made you like actually take the action? You know, a lot of people will say, "Oh, I want to do this, that, or the other thing," and see a need for it even, but don't take the action. So, what was it for you that made you say, "Not only do I want to do this, but I'm actually going to take action and make this happen"?
well, I would have to say inspiration. So I have a business, a female business owner of 20 years, love what I do, passionate about branding, with total brand engineer inside. When people talk, I see in brands. But I felt called to do this many years before, kind of to inspire the masses in some way. And when the idea hit that this is it, passion drove me. I hate to say it, I was just inspired all the time. Even when I went through any trials and tribulations in my life,
Right.
I might be down for just a little while, but it just inspired me and kept me going. And it wasn't easy. As an avid goal setter, I believe in systems in that space. I believe you're inspired from within, then you get people to motivate you around you. That's why accountability works. And I think that's why Goal Friends works, because you're constantly interacting and people are pushing you forward and supporting you and cheering you on. But I would say ultimately passion,
Awesome.
just inspiration and passion.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you have another business.
I
You
do.
are in brand marketing, right? Tell us about that and what is it that you love about that?
So I have a marketing and branding agency, AM3 AdSource in Raleigh, women owned. We're celebrating our 20th year. I have an amazing team, but I wanted to be in advertising. I knew that when I was young, 15, 16. I was just enamored with advertising for whatever reason. So when I got out of college, I went to work in print sales. So I kind of brought together my promoting passion and creativity, because I could sell graphic design back in the day where printing was graphic design. And I was telling this on another call recently that when I went on my own, so I worked for companies, did a great job. I was a salesperson. Once I decided to chart my own course, I was so excited about being vested in it and being a women business owner, that when my feet hit the floor, I was off running. And I loved it. And it was infectious. I was so enthusiastic. I got more excited than my clients did. They were just like, do what you want to do. Because I was probably this starry-eyed. I was 39 when I started, but just starry-eyed. Just so excited to come back and present. So both I would attribute to inspiration and passion. And you have to learn all the other things as you go, i.e. leadership, how to run a business, being entrepreneurial, all those things, all the tactics that go along with that.
And so how do you fit those things in? It's a lot to run a business and then to learn the things that you need to learn in the midst of that. How do you do that?
In reference to learning how to run the business
And
side of it?
learning how to be a leader and learning how to do the things that are not forward facing when
Yes.
you're running a business.
Versus just having a salary and a job and doing a great job. I love that you asked that question because I wanted to talk about it for a long time. So when I started my business, I was a salesperson and a really good salesperson. So it was an easy transition to go on my own and sell. I already had clients. I had a bank of clients. What I didn't know how to do was the taxes the tax ID, the CPA. I mean, I had to fumble my way through and find it. And I actually had a woman from the Internal Revenue, not the IRS, the NC Department of Revenue, who would come by every month, and she'd peek her head in my 300 square foot executive suite. Now I'm running a multi-million-dollar little agency by myself out of this little executive suite. And she'd peek her head around the corner and say, have you done it yet? She'd come help me. So it was really, until I hired someone to do those things, I just wore a lot of hats, and there were lots of frustrations, lots of tears, lots of celebrations. But when you're entrepreneurial by nature, you just have broad shoulders. You just do it.
Right.
You do.
Right. So you mentioned that 15, 16, you knew you wanted to be in advertising. And then you did it, right? So what was the first job that you had in advertising?
I was an intern. So my first job, like I did things out of the box. Like I was worked for Elaine Powers and exercising when no one did. They would say, you do what? This is way back in the day. You haven't even heard of that. But I was an intern for a newspaper. And I was the only person out of 40 people that applied that didn't have any extracurricular activities or credits, or whatever. But again, I would tell them, in the interviews, I've wanted this job for 8 years. Like, I want this job. And so I was an intern, loved it. Then they complimented me to a full-time position, loved it. And then I went into the design factor, but just loved it. That's all I can say. And even in thought leadership with Goal Friends, I have this ability to take thought leadership and brand it. That's what makes Goal Friends so fun. And I consider myself like a brand engineer. I could see the movement, moving you through a process just like you would buy. So that was my first job.
Interesting. So was that the first job you ever had or just the first job in advertising?
No, I actually, my first job, so exciting. I was a maid for the first condom. I grew up in Virginia Beach, and at 13, I got my worker's permit because, girl, I had to work for clothes. It's true
Yes, and
that.
if you don't
So,
know Darlene, she's clothes
no,
and shoes. Yes.
I had to work for clothes. So at 13, I got a worker's permit and rode the bus downtown with a bestie. And we worked like 7 days a week on and off at 13 because we wanted the hours. So we cleaned condominiums. I was so proud. Yeah, I loved it.
I know my sister, who you haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, but I'm sure one day I'll get you guys connected. She was working at 13. I can't even, it's like at 13, I had other things on my mind. Working was not one of them. And have never been in the clothes. So that wasn't a huge motivator for me. Um, so you started as a maid, you were cleaning condominiums. Over the course of the next couple of years, you realized that advertising is where your heart is. You get your first job in advertising. What was your path kind of to working your way until you decided to go out on your own?
So, and part of me working at 13 was a necessity.
Okay.
I was brought up in a semi-marginalized situation. So it was a necessity habit, but I still had a lot of drive. I just didn't know it. I thought it was just fun. So I worked in advertising. I worked as an intern, and then I left and went to work. And I stayed for about 15 years in print design. So once again, so what I'm doing with Girlfriends with workbooks, to me, that's print design. That's what I did. Catalogs, brochures. And then I switched from print design at one point for about 6 years and worked for a multimedia company when CDs and DVDs, and I built a really cool media services pharmaceutical business. So they actually supported me when I started on my own. So I went straight from, I've never not been in marketing and advertising. So I went straight from print advertising to media, multimedia, and then added branded merchandise. So what my company, my marketing and branding agency right now, we work with a lot of regulated industries, and we do sustainability programs, onboarding, we do customer client engagement programs, huge in client engagement programs, but in the regulated industry. So we're kind of experts in that area.
Okay. Did you've worked doing in general work that you've loved. Have you
Yes.
ever had a role that you didn't like or that you were
Yeah.
like, what am I doing here?
Yes. So when I left Virginia Beach as a print salesperson, I got on with a company that was Business Forms, and it was a pretty lucrative company, but it was all very linear. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm pretty creative. I never mastered my ruler. It was the strange ruler. I still have it just to traumatize myself. I still have that ruler. Like, I have the original stapler I ever used, my original tape.
Are
I
you
hold on.
serious?
I hold on. I have the original calculator. People are like, they still make these, but like, please don't go calculator. So, yes, everything. I hold on to my stuff. So that was one job I had. I had it for about, I don't know, Whitney, 4 months. And it was like walking through quicksand to go to work. It, like, that's the best way I could describe it. And I loved my boss. I loved the office that I worked with because I was that girl, because I liked everything at the time. I've gotten not quite so much as I get older. But I finally just had to tell my boss the truth. Basically, almost like, I just can't do this. I'm bored. I'm bored. So I went right back into what I was doing for a big printer. Loved it. That's my niche. As long as I have an outlet to be creative, I'm going to be happy there.
And so was your career orchestrated, or did you just kind of go with the flow from position to position?
Totally go with the flow.
Okay.
Like, I've actually worked for small businesses. I've never worked for a large corporation. So when I hear corporate talk sometimes. I sell to corporations and I love working with corporations. But I haven't been in a position to even, actually have never been, reviewed.
Oh, really?
I've never had a review. I would probably be like, really? No, this is the truth. Because I was such a driver and so enthusiastic. No, I've never, I worked for small businesses and I just did my job and hustled, and no, I've never had a formal review. I review teams, but I just haven't. So that's one of the things. So go ahead. I was
No,
going to talk about.
so you were talking about you just kind of have moved from position to position
Yeah.
in flow rather than necessarily saying, this is a position I want and I'm going to go after this next, or move your way up the ladder.
It wasn't strategic. There was really no ladder to when I was a salesperson. I was just a salesperson. So no, I will tell you one thing that I did that it's kind of a little claim to fame, but I did it so innocently. I was interviewing for a job, and I was leaving one graphic design company, going on to the multimedia company. And at the time, this will give you an idea of what you don't have to know to do well. I didn't know what multimedia meant. It didn't matter. True story. I was a salesperson. So I meet with the gentleman who's interviewing me, my soon-to-be boss, and I said, truly, and this was in 1993. I was about 33. And I said, just pay me. I didn't bring a resume because I was a good salesperson. I love what I did. So I said, just pay me $750. This is a true story. Pay me $750 every 2 weeks, big $1,500 a month. Just pay me that, and I'll bill you what you owe me at the end of the quarter. I said that to him, and he just kind of looked at me, and I'm like, I'll just use it for gas money, but I'll bill you what you owe me at the end of the quarter. So I just had that natural salesperson entrepreneurship. I've been on straight commission since I was 28, so it's never been really scary. Goal Friends has been scary.
Tell us about that. What's been scary about that?
Well, to be a salesperson and to know your product, and you love what you do, so you're more excited than the client is. So we've got that. To decide that you have this vision and you really want to implement this vision, but outside of being a salesperson, kind of innately introverted and shy in my space, and work day and night, so impassioned to bring this to women and want them to grow and to understand, the living life by intention and setting goals, whatever, like I did. It required being public. And every time I would put it out there, I'm looking at the quality of the work and the branding,
right,
my industry. But every time I would put it out there, it would start to blow up, and then I would retreat back. And people would say, we want you to come speak, and can you come talk to my school? And I'm like, oh no, here's your workbook. So that's what I did. Completely different from being in corporate. There's nothing strange about walking into a boardroom and presenting. The challenge with Goal Friends is you're not presenting. You have to be very vulnerable. I've said it before, sometimes you're pushing a rope up a mountain because you're racing in between wanting to serve somebody, and it's so mission driven. You're not trying to sell somebody. Whereas in my marketing company, it's all about so it required me to really reframe who I was. I had to go from 20 years, and you coming from a corporate background as you have, you are your brand, you're constantly presenting. And I had to shift gears to stop presenting and just be me. And then actually and talk about your personal life, which in corporate you don't share unless you have a relationship with your clients, which most of them are relationship based, but you're not sharing stuff like you would on the thought leader side. So yeah, that was the scary part. Super impassioned, but then it became very fearful and challenging.
And in all of that, staying true to who you are, you have done exactly that, right? Because you've grown this from a group in Raleigh to now it's Girlfriends is a global brand, and you've
Global.
got chapters all over the world. And the really great initiative you had that of 20 new girlfriends groups this year that you did in like 20 days, right?
I
Instead of
know.
the course of the year. So just, whatever fear you had that you were able to feed off of and or exploit or leverage or whatever it was you needed to do obviously has worked for you, and
Well,
you're making a huge difference in
well, thank
lives.
I have to say, and it actually started in St. Louis. I prototyped it, I piloted it in 5 states away in St. Louis, and then we started our second group. But as in the true nature of Goal Friends, I had a lot of support. Patty Aubrey has been hugely supportive. You're hugely supportive. Everybody, women will support women. I have never seen anything like it. It's full of grace. It's a blessing. But I bet everyone I know, Mr. Raleigh, has worked on Girlfriends workbooks, edited things for me, went through all the challenges with me, and cheered me on. So it's about women's support. And then, of course, Patty saw this in 2012 and I showed it to her, and I was really trying to hide it. It's a true story. I said, well,
Thing with Patty.
but I did. I said, well, I've got this little thing. And then she looks at me and she said, just like this, I see you. And I'm like, no, you don't, because I'm invisible. I was like, oh, great. And she said, this is one of my passions, and I'm going to circle back to you one day. And I'm like, good, take your time, because I'm not ready, truly. So, everybody, some people, like I did business, some people, you're clear, you're confident, you get up and do it. I was that way in marketing. This isn't a lot of people. When you're putting your own work out there, your own soul, your own life, it's much harder. But if you can get through it, and I'm just coming through it, thank you for having me on. This is all new to me because I just didn't do it. I stayed humble and shy, but I know my material. I know what it'll do for you. I know how it can change your life. So now it's my time to just kind of speak my truth.
So before we leave Girlfriends,
Yes.
you and Patty have taken a turn with Girlfriends, and in the midst of the situation that we're in, the climate that we're in, you have opened Girlfriends up online for the first time, right? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I was almost getting ready to post a picture when I pulled it up on my girlfriend's phone. She just registered. And I look at this little workbook, and this little vision is online now. It's so cool. Thank you, Jocelyn and the team. I decided during COVID, as I came back from California and sat here and grieved with the whole world, I got a call from my global director with Girlfriends, who's a volunteer, and she said, can we share this with Italy, the workbook, like the PDF? And I said, I'll do better. Let's just give it away. Oh, I'm going to cry. It was just on my heart. I said, you know what? Whatever we can do, let's just it's built. Let's give it away, give it to the world, and let women band together and support each other and, come back stronger.
Yeah. You started to cry
I know.
because I remember when I first heard you saying you were doing that. I called you to get a copy of the workbook for someone who's waiting for her workbook, and you're like, we just put it online. It's out there. And I was like, who does that? Who does that?
What? God.
Somebody who loves what they're doing and
That's right.
passionate about the mission that they're living. And this is not about you doing a business. This is about you living your values and your priority of serving women in the best way that you know how. So
Thank you. I mean, truly, it's pure of heart in that space. I built it for the masses. I built it for that reason. And it was the only thing to do at that time. I'm like, you know me, I checked in with God and said, oh boy, because once I do that, and it was the best feeling ever.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah. So please offer it to any of your audience. Please take it. It's built. We're going to do a monthly call, and we're just going to turn up the volume with women. And we need to raise the vibration in this whole COVID situation. Again, my business, we're working virtually. I know everyone is. We've never been here before. I haven't. You know, we all came to a dead stop. And so now this at least give us something to look forward to. And you know, I said this recently, sometimes all you have left are your dreams.
Right.
So let's start there. Start over.
I will absolutely put the information in the link in the post. So what has been, over the course of your career, one or two of the most important lessons that you've learned?
The biggest stands out everywhere. Well, first of all, there's several, but stay client centric. It's real important. In, you know, leadership is important. So as a salesperson who loved what I did, I hired good people, but I really didn't have any leadership skills. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I've learned, and I just had this rerun as I'm running around the world being goal friendly and transparently with my marketing company, there was a little bit of a snag, and I said it's coming from the top. When your company's not really thriving, it's usually coming from the top, that the leader needs to lead and be a good example. Also, kind of a no gossip rule. It'd be nice, you know. And do what you say you're going to do. We had a rule at the office: no is not an option. If a client calls and it's not in our genre, it's just not something that's in our wheelhouse, help them find somebody else immediately. Customer service is critical. We're all on the front line. And I think that's why we've had one client for 27 years. I mean, many clients for 27. I've only been in business for 20 years with AdSource, but I had another company. I mean, I was with another company and they converted when that company shut down. But yeah, that's because of really prioritizing people. And obviously I could be a better manager. Usually you have certain talents and skills. I do try, but I hire good managers.
I love your openness about that, your honesty and vulnerability about who you have been as a manager and a leader, and a willingness to say that I could do better and wanting to, in fact, do that.
Yeah, so I think when you're new and you're going on your own, you don't really know what you don't know.
Right.
We all have a certain strength, and we take that out to the world. We charge out there, and then we pick up the pieces. It's normal. I mean, it's evolution. You know, I'm sure I didn't present very well in the beginning in the boardroom and then I did. You know, then you get confident. And again, clarity equals confidence, empowering, no matter what area you're in. But I didn't know about leadership. So I think I ran the company in the beginning entrepreneurially and as a salesperson. Managing was a little bit harder for me because I'm a salesperson by nature, a promoter. Then you have to give yourself a raise as a principal and the leader and realize it's coming from the top. And that's an evolution. And empathy is critical, but not too much. Women will give away the farm, and we just want everybody to be happy. We're always trying to neutralize and nurture. Sometimes you just have to step aside and let managers manage. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to address everything. And one thing that I think for a business owner that's really important, that if you're going to come to any of the leadership team with a problem, and I learned this from a friend of mine who is in organizational development. She said, bring a solution.
Yes.
And those little teeny things, if something goes awry, it's usually coming from the top, because it's my job to make sure it doesn't. And then problems and solutions and empathy, and then try to be aware of what your limitations are, and hire your limitations. Don't hire someone that's exactly like you.
Right. If that message could go to more people who are hiring, right? Because we are drawn generally to people. It's
Yes.
kind of human nature to be drawn to people who are like you, a reflection of you. But really, to have a great organization, not just a good one, a great organization, you need to have people who bring different skill sets, different
Different skill
thought
sets.
processes, and experiences to the table so that you can fully embrace and address problems when they come and be creative in the development of solutions. And if everybody is thinking like you,
Nothing's going to happen. Sometimes you have to run it up the flagpole. You don't want to ask too much. I've been guilty of asking too many opinions at times, but it's because I'm like curating and aggregating things. So I'm trying to understand something. But sometimes you have to run it up a flagpole with someone else and say, can you give me your ideas on what are your thoughts on this? And I do that regularly in my marketing company. What are your thoughts on this, so that I can have something objective? And it's okay if I say, no, that's not what I was thinking, and go with your guts. But
right, right. No, that's a good point. That you can't ask to the point of paralysis, and you can't ask and do things that don't ultimately connect with you, right? Because if you're the final person who's responsible for the outcome, if you go with the outcome that doesn't resonate with you, scapegoating could happen. And
exactly.
you still have to take in what you get and then process it yourself in order to make the final decision. So
Exactly.
any go ahead.
One of the things, and I know that we're also connected and bonded with Jack's work, Jack Canfield. One of the things that I was so blessed to learn is in the Success Principles, which I think is a phenomenal book. Assume 100% responsibility. And I think it's the hardest thing in the world to do because sometimes we lack awareness. But once you're aware, it will just gnaw at you, and then you're like, well, the first thing you'll say instead of blaming. So it's hard to scapegoat and blame when you're going to be held accountable. Like, how did I lead wrong? So I think that that's super important. And that's, to me, I think every young person, just as much as you should learn to set goals, dream, and be intentional about certain things, not everything. We're not all goal-seeking crazy people, but I think 100% responsibility really should be taught at a very, very young age. And I know our parents do, but I think when we have an awareness at a certain age, it should be really drilled down because it stops you from a lot of madness. Don't you think?
I agree. It is funny you say that about parents because I think parents do teach that, but I don't think parents do such a great job modeling that. And the disconnect for kids is that they will do what they see you do. They're not really interested in what you're telling them is the right way to go. They want to do what they see parents doing. So
That we're all in trouble.
It's important to not only say take responsibility, but to model that as well. So what would be, if someone were to come to work for you and in your ad agency, your marketing company, were to come work for you, what are some of the pieces of advice that you give them? Or if someone were to come to you and say, I'm interested in starting my own marketing company, what are some advice that you would give them as a new person in your industry?
In the marketing industry? Well, first of all, I would say be passionate, always learn to work autonomously. And I'm really big on being a critical thinker. So critical thinking to me is one of the skill sets that I look for. I can't type. I mean, 12 words a minute maybe, and look at all the work that I pump out, and I run a business. That's really funny. And typing to me is very arduous. It's scary. um, be, be able to work autonomously and bring things to the table. If you go on your own, you have to figure it out. If you come to work with me, I want to know that I don't have to babysit a situation. I can be there to help monitor a situation, to advise on the situation. We can come together collectively as agencies do and get creative for ideas or whatever, but I don't want to sit there and hold over the keyboard. And I've had to with some people, so it makes you a little micromanager, particularly when you're a small business. But I think when you go to work for another company, bring ideas to the table and learn to work, be a critical thinker. I can't even speak highly enough about that. When I see someone at my office that does something without me having to look over there and notice it, or they come and say, hey, I have a great idea, or have you thought about changing this plan to something, or did you know, whatever, I'm elated, because when you're a business owner, you're responsible for all of it, and you're usually saying to someone, hey, there's a light bulb out in the bathroom. If you don't change it yourself. I mean, I had that discussion one time. I'm not the only one that works here. So, but I think if you're going to chart out on your own, make sure that you have resources or you're well planned. Just like setting a goal, have some clarity. If you're going to chart on your own, make sure you can afford it, because you don't want to be undercapitalized, depending on what that is for you. And I plan to go on my own for almost 2 years. I didn't just one day wake up and say, oh, I want my own business. I planned it. I talked about it, just like you do in Goal Friends, just like any goal. Most things don't happen overnight. And I was well prepared. I had a logo. I had everything designed before I did it, and I could afford to do it. I was also married at the time and had full support. I used all my own money. It was important to me to launch it, but I had the full support of my husband at the time, because I kind of said, here's what I'm going to do. And there's a trust factor there.
Cool. So Darlene,
Yes,
any
ma'am.
parting words, any final thoughts or advice that you would give to someone about navigating a path to work that they love, or any thoughts about your experience or your journey in doing work that you love that you'd like to share?
Sure. So it's an old quote, and I'm probably going to misquote it. Well, two things. If you're passionate about something, try to find a way to make money at it, because then you stay in joy. You're in alignment with what you love. Like you say, you're not walking through quicksand. And, try to it's an imperfect journey, imperfect steps. Go easy on yourself so that you don't beat yourself up, and really celebrate your wins all along the way, depending. And if I can build a business for 20 years, I came from very humble beginnings, actually welfare beginnings. If I can build a business and launch a global platform, anybody can. You just have to stay the course. So my Goal Friends would appreciate that. Anybody, my 3 favorite words. Well, 3 favorite words. Every goal matters, because it's cumulative, and stay the course. It's not a perfect path, but just don't quit. Unless it's causing you pain, then I say either ungoal it or give it a goalectomy, get it off, because it will traumatize you. But other than that, stay the course. It doesn't happen right away. Sometimes it takes years. Years are okay. Time is on our side.
Absolutely. I love this. And for those of you who are going to look into Goal Friends, because I'm going to put the link in the comments, you'll notice that Darlene has developed a whole goal vocabulary. Is it called a goalabulary? Vocabulary. Goalabulary.
Oh, wait. I got a goalossary.
A goalossary.
I wanted to make it fun. Goal setting is not fun by nature. It's pretty arduous. I wanted to make it fun so you could see through the lens of opportunity and possibility in this life, even in the horrificness of COVID.
That is true. That is true.
Right.
So I'm going to share the link. Look into it. she's made the program available online. You'll be able to see when the virtual meetings are. Join it, join it, join. I cannot stress enough to
It's
join.
fun.
I have an actual in-person group. We are meeting virtual in these times. Looking forward to going back to in-person meetings at some point. But right now, virtual is where it's at. So take advantage of the opportunity. Darlene, thank you. Thank
I
you.
love
Thank you. Love you
you.
too.
Love you, girl.
You are awesome. You are, I'm trying to find a gold word. Come up with something.
Wait. What is a good goal word? There's 60 of them at least. Unbelievable.
You are unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yes, you are. And
That's favorite. That's a favorite word. Look, you had me at hello.
No, what was it? Flossom. You're flossom, right? Another word from your glossary. Flossom. You are flossom. You're awesome. You're fabulous. And I thank you for making time to come and chat with us about your journey, talking about work you love, the importance of that. And, you know, for me, Darlene has talked about her goal of being there for women and helping them reach their goals. My big passion and the goal that I have set as part of my goal friends journey is about employees doing work that they love, being engaged in their workplaces, aspiring to be the best they can be in their companies, or if they want to start businesses, starting businesses. So the reason for this series, this Love Your Work series, is just to inspire you to take control, to do what Darlene said, which is to take 100% control of your career and your life, and to move it forward in a way that works for you so that you're doing work that you truly love. So with that, I want to thank you for joining Darlene and I today. And Darlene, again, thank you, thank you, thank you for making the time all the way from Raleigh.
All right. Well, Whitney, thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having, and thanks for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing for people in the world of the community of working, because that's where we spend a bulk of our time. And given these tools are amazing. I wish I would have had tools like this when I was starting off. Would help me dramatically. Yeah.
If I could, although I get that without the experience of doing work that and being in environments that I did not love, then I wouldn't be where I am now. So I accept that, but at the same time, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have paid heed, I think, to some of the lessons that were laid out for me that I think I heard, but I wasn't really listening. And then I didn't take action. And so that's what we all have to do, right? Is learn these lessons, but then we have to take the action that moves us in the direction of our goals. And ultimately, you and I are talking the same thing.
We are.
Figuring out, having a vision for your life, figuring out what it is you want, and then taking the action to move in that direction.
Yeah, and move forward. And, you know, the work that you're doing, if I can say this, because it's really important for me to instill. Remember, women have only been in the workforce since the 60s, really to instill it for our future females, because they're just, you know, groundbreaking at this point. And it's our job to kind of mentor and pass along these things. And then for people that are stuck, get unstuck, write your goals down.
Get unstuck. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. That is the key, is to get unstuck.
Yeah.
And we're here for you to do.
Yes.
We're here for you.
Yeah. Anybody needs, call me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate
Love
it.
You, girl. Love
Have
you.
A great day.
Bye, girlfriend. Have